accidentally Duncan stepped into my hot take.
Go on then.
But I don't know. I don't know if he had this one or not. Maybe Maui, but I can't remember at this point because I have several. Because if we had this one, I'm just going to take another one. Donk is going to be the GOAT, 100%. Did we have this one?
I mean, listen. By adding 100%, you have made it a hot take. I'll give you that because
my take 2 weeks ago was that it was that Donk is if Donk retired today, he's the greatest rifler of all time. So it's not the GOAT. It's not the GOAT. I mean, he's
going to be the okay. He's going to be the GOAT. Like this thing.
It's a different take. Yeah.
The thing is like what I did in the last several weeks, and because every time I go to sleep, or every time I have some time off, I have a tablet next to me, and then I scroll through YouTube of demos.
Every time I go to sleep, I think about Donk is the fucking title of this. There you go, editor. Put it in. I know.
Dreaming about Donk.
And people are going to wonder what the fuck a hot take comes out of that, but fair enough, okay.
The thing is...
Don't you have a wife and kids?
I know.
I do.
Every time he's not working, he's like, listen, love, sorry. No, Maui, here's the obvious one. If you're really skilled thumbnail maker, you never will, sadly, but what you should do is get that classic meme, you know, the one where it's like the wife, like, what's he thinking about? Is he thinking about other women? And he's just thinking about Donk. He's just like, fucking, that picture of Donk walking down the major father when
many such cases, though.
I know. Yeah, true. Listen, I'm with you.
Somebody
yeah, I know. I am too. I think about Donk a lot, actually.
The thing is, like, when it comes to that, like I said, I scroll like YouTube videos of Donk, of, you know, Monesi, of Zaivu, and the old demos of Nico, and like, you know, Simple and everything. Donk is just, I'm just talking prime against prime. Donk is just better than everyone else. Like, he's quicker. He is sharper. He makes the game, he doesn't have the movement like Nico has or anything like that, which makes it even more ridiculous what he does. Like, if you look at his, like, just without comms, without audio, without anything, his crosshair placement is better than Nico's primes. His reaction time is better than Nico's and Zaivu's and Simple's in their primes, or anybody else in their prime, if you want to, you know, go down the memory lane of Cold Zeras, Olaf Meisters, Getrites, and whoever. In every aspect of the game, like, I thought that he's going to be able to compete, like Zaivu is going to be able to compete with Donk in terms of who's going to be the GOAT. But Donk is just better. Like, Donk is just a new generation, next level, you know. I said it before, the you know, the T-1000 against the Schwarzenegger in the Terminator. Like, he's just the next level of this machine that goes around and kills people. And you said it, like, a few minutes ago, Duncan. He changed you said it changed the matrix. He made the first jump. He completely, like, created a new fucking limit for people, right? He changed the boundaries of what can be done with a rifle completely. And that's, nobody ever did that. The closest one who did that in the past was Nico in 2016, 17, 8, 15 maybe, I don't even know. And since then, there was not a single rifle that came even close to Nico. Like, I can't even remember a single rifle that came close to Nico in the recent, 7 years maybe? People would say Exile, but that's just nonsense for me. And that's it. I can't remember a single name. And then Donk showed up, and not just he came close, he was rushing aside Nico and just fucking... When it comes to, like, sharpness, you know, quickness, reaction time, everything else. Like, I don't know the call, because I hear the face it comes, and they're very, like, you know, few words that he says. And on the Russian, obviously, I don't have the access for that, and I would like to have, like, a translated version or something to see how much impact he has in terms of comms, because we know the Nico, for example, right now does a lot of CT stuff, and, you know, I don't know what Zaivu does. Probably not a lot, considering what the players they have, and how vocal Apex is, and Robs is with the secondary things and ideas and whatever. But Donk, on the other hand, like you said, it's not the same category of player as any other potential GOAT or superstar that we have right now. Look at Monesi, for example. They are the similar age, right? And yes, Monesi is an AWPer, Donk is a rifler, but the reaction time of those two is just night and day. The sharpness of those two with the AK, night and day. Pistol, night and day. Any other superstar player right now, even Kiyosuke, who is like a star on the rise, kind of. He's not even close.
We'll have to see with him. Yeah,
we have to see it. For me, he's not even close. Maybe it changes, but overall, because like our show is not that long this time, I'm gonna leave it at that. That overall, he's going to be the GOAT, no matter what happens, 100%.
I was thinking of doing a take on Donk also, but this is a kind of a good way to build off of it. Is that I listened to the latest Talking Counter podcast because they had a section on it about the greatest rifler of all time. Yenko brought up the idea. I said it on the show 2 weeks ago, at least, that he already is the greatest rifler of all time. Yenko took a differing opinion. Moses kind of had a cop-out answer, which is that he hasn't played for 2 years, so he can't be included in a GOAT conversation yet. Sponge actually agreed and said that he was the GOAT rifler already. But then Yenko, in trying to say he's not, brought up 3 other names for riflers. This is all modern era stuff again. Like they didn't really go back into 1.6 discussions or anything like that, but they were like from CS:GO onwards. 3 names that Yenko brought up were Electronic.
Fucking hell, Electronic.
I'm just going to shake my head. I'm just going to shake my head. I'm just going to shake.
I thought you were going to start with like Cold Zero or Get Right or someone. Holy shit, quite Electronic. Fuck, that's a reach shot.
The 3 names he brought up.
Cool. That's a hot take, bro. You should be on the show and do that. That's a fucking hell.
He said the three likely names that in these GOAT discussions are Electronic, Nico, and Rops. And
fucking hell, where are my G's at? Where is Cold Zero and Get Right? Where are they?
I know. I thought. Truthfully, I brought this up to Vu because we had rehearsals yesterday. I was like, Vu, what do you think? Like, and then he kind of thinks the GOAT aspect is still a little difficult just because the sample size or the time span isn't long enough yet. I still stand firmly that Donk's the greatest rifler. To just kind of go back to it, I mean, I don't think that. The thing is that I think the only guy that really has an actual case for a strong case. Vu said actually Olaf would maybe be his biggest contender pick for Donk. Mine would probably actually just be Coldzera, but I still would pick Donk over any of these people. As for GOAT in general, like Assad's saying, I mean, like 100% the GOAT. I mean, legitimately, like Donk needs to get hit by lightning 7 times before he doesn't get this title for me, because he even if he drops off 10%, he's still probably the highest rated. I mean, maybe Zywa would be higher rated this year, but I mean, like his ADR would still be the highest, even if he dropped 10% of his ADR. His KPR would still be the highest, even if he dropped 10% of his KPR. So he needs to have such a drastic fall off. And something that I know, as I go off the rails again, as I do with some of these players, is that I know Donk's impervious to actually getting distracted, because he got a girlfriend this year and he didn't drop off one bit.
Fair enough.
He is not actually being turned away from the game. Like that's not slowing him down one bit. That usually can be the end of a play. I'm just saying there's usually a few ends.
I mean,
of
supposedly that's what affected Monacy. People say seems quite plausible.
Yeah, there. I mean,
Bulich also had a girlfriend and he was fine. While he had a girlfriend, if you call her a girlfriend.
Well, yeah. Let's see what the breakup is like for Donk before we get too excited. But no, if he was able to get a girlfriend and still continue to play decently, I'm pretty sure this dude is just untouchable right now. So I don't really disagree. I just kind of brought up the other aspect though of the other 3 GOAT contenders from what Yenko brought up, to just say I don't think there's really anybody getting that close right now.
So here's the thing, what essentially that argument, this is why I actually like to do discussions and arguments, but I don't think people do a very good job normally of making their points. I think what they do is they have the feeling inside or the thought, but then they can't like attach it to like reasoning and build up a framework, because essentially what you're describing there, Maui, if I just think about the opinions they're saying, is they're all just essentially on the same train as Moses. They just think that longevity is what makes you the GOAT. Because think of the names they listed. What they're doing when they say Electronic, Nico, and Drops is they're people who you can say have had like maybe 5 years as an elite rifler, you know what I mean? Their problem is they're taking like, Get Right was just the first couple of years, Cold Zero was a couple of years, and Olaf Meister was basically 1 year, and then they're thinking, well, that's not enough time. They're doing the same argument they're doing against Donk. The problem is, I actually think that both are valid. Like, if you want to say that like longevity makes you a great player, well, if we agree that's a condition, then yeah, you're going to need like 3-4 years at least. That's going to cut a few people out. I don't think it has to, though. Like, I always tell people this. For me, I actually really wondered why it's so pathetic. We've had a million GOAT conversations, and 99% of people have never explained what is the GOAT. They just take it to mean whoever I said. No, before you say the name, tell me what does the GOAT represent? Because to me, if you actually ask me what the GOAT means, by the way, the actual real reason why I have a bit of longevity, but not much, is in my opinion, the GOAT is this. If we could take every player in the universe at their absolute peak and put them in some like alternate dimension where it doesn't matter that they all played in different years and eras and versions of Counter-Strike, somehow they could all play the same version of Counter-Strike, that essentially this player at that moment would win. Now, the reason why you don't just make it the best day of their career is, someone could have a fluke game. They could have a miracle 3 months. They could have a one, but that would be a fluke. But here's the thing. To me, Donk is already, this is why this is a great time to have this conversation, right on the border of, he's got enough longevity. Because he's not just got like just over a year and a half. He's had a year and a half of absolutely cooking. Like that level I'm talking about, like the GOAT level, mate, you can take that any time from now to when you join Katowice. Like you can have any month you want pretty much. So I agree. You could, if you really want to make him the GOAT and you're not too concerned about like you have to have more longevity and more individual accolades and more number ones, then he can already be the GOAT. I also think say the same thing about Olaf Meister. If you just want to say only for 2015, and for Olaf Meister you're probably going to have to add in his stats wouldn't be as crazy, things like impact on the style, things he did that changed the way maps were played. You'd have to be like the innovation angle. You could do it though. I notice he never gets in this conversation, but I think it's a legitimate pick. But I get why to a fan, even though I think actually Rops was never at his peak as good as Olaf Meister's peak. Rops has way more longevity as an elite player, though. In times where he was a star and many, many years he's carried different squads. So, okay, I actually think that's fine. And actually on this one, what's funny is, this is why it's a good hot take, because part of me actually already thinks he's the GOAT. But at the same time, a bit like what I said earlier, it's the sample size for Zebo in major finals is 2. The sample size for Donk is 1. I would also like to see a couple more. You know what I mean? What if in the next one he has an off game? That's fair. It can happen. So I also think I'd like to see a couple more, but I don't hate the take either way. Also, I'll just say this, to go back to what Kassan said at the beginning, I actually sort of agree. If basically I can tie this to what I said last year, I actually had a pretty consistent evolving narrative. I wanted Monacy to be the best player ever in CS2. I thought his game looked unbelievable last year. It was actually just like, if you're a simple fan, it was like being in 2018, 2019, watching the old school simple. Like, this is shit. I love this. But I used to say last year, that tagline that I'll say again for Donk, I would think about the two players, I would watch Monacy, and I would come up with all these great reasons. Then I would watch Donk, and every time I'm watching Donk, it's like it made me forget every other player that ever existed and be like, that's the best player I've ever seen. I still think it now when I watch him play. Like, here's what's cool, and this actually does remind me, the only player I've ever had this with was Prime Simple. He has this thing, right, where when you watch a highlight or a round that's super sick, but as it's happening, you know he's going to win it and kill everyone. Right? You might hope that for a really good player. You might think, is there an angle you can get that? No matter what, no matter how impossible it looks, this is what reminds me of Prime Simple. You just know he's going to get the kills. In fact, he even gets the kills that you, as a jaded viewer, have seen a billion 3Ks. Every time in your brain it's that he gets a sick 3K, he then makes it a 4K when there never even should be the 4th kill. And you're like, how do you, what? And if you've watched a lot of CS, it's rare to get surprised like that. But like, even though I've seen a million Donk games, the amount of times he gets the additional kill that nobody should get is mental. Or even the times where like he'll be spraying at one person, it's almost like he accidentally sprays another person and then kills them. Like, what? But I can tell you can't consistently accidentally kill people like that. That just means you actually completely cracked out your mind. And then also, I'll just put it this way, I just think that his spray doesn't even make sense. It doesn't even make sense. If anyone saw really early CS2, that's what Get Right was like. Yeah. Where he used to spray and it would actually make it look like he's using some sort of an aimbot. Like no one else can make the bullets go that accurately on like the 7th bullet or whatever the fuck. Like the amount of times Donk sprays full auto and like 8 bullets in, it just does the headshot as if he like was just aiming it. Guys, everyone's trying to spray. Everyone's practicing that every day of their life in CS and no one else can do this. Like, I sort of do think he's completely cracked out. And then also, what's funny is his age should be an argument against him because you should be like, we'll give him a few more years. if he's already goated now,
I know.
then that in a way, it's a rare time it goes the other way and goes in his favour, doesn't it? I agree with you, Rowie. Essentially, to me, it would have to be some crazy external thing would have to happen to this guy to stop him right now. He just seems like he has that momentum. Like, by the way, I'll even say I do think that did happen to Simple. I don't bring it up because to me, what's the point? You're just pointlessly like hurting people's feelings and opening the wound again. But like, let's be real. Simple's streak of being like untouchable and only Ziwu could fuck with him literally only starts to fade, and he still won that year. The year his country had a fucking military conflict inside it, and in theory you can never go home since then and just live in your home country. Like, I'm sorry, I can't look at that and just... I can do it when I'm talking about CS, but when I look at the bigger picture of like, what could Simple have done in his career, obviously that's an incredibly unfair scenario to have happen to you while you're still goated. Like, similar thing, if something happened to Donk in his home area or whatever, that could maybe do it. But for right now, essentially that's how goated he looks. Like, you almost have to speculate some outside the game. Any normal player, you can just drop off inside the game. This guy seems like he just never will, mate. I even think, by the way, the last thing to say is this. Yeah. I even think that actually the person I feel the most sorry for is Kiyosuke, because I feel like he has been given the most impossible fucking shoes to walk in. And if Donk didn't exist, we'd already be saying like, this is one of the best rookies we've ever seen. But no one gives a shit because Donk just did it all last year, didn't he, son? No one cares, mate.
It's crazy.
I agree. Kiyosuke's also cracked up, but just don't look better. So sorry. Yeah. What do you want?
And then Yanko goes and mentions electronic and Robs.
That's how you know how fondly he remembers the old days, mate.
Yeah. Electronic is like Vince Carter. Like, he's like, had a few years good, and like everybody thought he was the shit, and it's fucking like, and at the end of the career, he's just shit and changing teams and like whatever. While Robs is your Shaquille O'Neal, yeah? You're a fucking position dominator. Like, nobody can do it. Like, nobody does it like he does. He got the titles. Shaq has the titles, MVPs. Like, he won 2 majors.
I have to say, I've never met anyone who actually thinks Robs is the GOAT, though. That is a new take to me. I've never heard that one.
He's not the GOAT. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, who's next?
And also, look. Obviously, players can have different opinions, but I'll just tell you, Robs himself definitely doesn't think he's the GOAT. I can just tell you straight up, he doesn't even think he does believe people like Ziwu and Simple like a level ahead of him in his career. He'll tell you that.
I think people just need to, in their GOAT conversations, need to define what longevity actually adds a little bit better, because the way I see it is that if you have 2 super elite players that are the best in the world, it is very hard to say and discern era to era as the game naturally evolves who is actually better. So longevity is more of a tiebreaker for me oftentimes when it's just that if 2 players, let's just actually say I don't know, fucking Donk versus anybody. Donk has right now a proof that he has an 18-month span of being the world's best player. That is an absurd amount of time of just dominating every single tournament that he's played. And if there was like another person who had the similar amount of accolades to him, 1 major win, 1 major MVP, and we know that they both had really good single tournaments, but that person only peaked for that single tournament, and that was their best event ever, I'd probably have to give it in a tiebreaker to Donk, because he has 18 months of playing at an absolutely absurd elite level across Katowice, across Cologne, across this. Because when I'm trying to come up with that theoretical GOAT versus GOAT conversation, peak versus peak, the tiebreaker is kind of like the longevity of peak. That's how I generally see it. But if you're 18 months as a super elite player, I'll take that probably over what Olaf Meister's good for 9 months. He was like insanely good for 9 months. And that's kind of like a Kenny S versus Simple thing. Like, Kenny S's peak might have been, like, if you took 1 tournament, maybe better than Simple's peak at a tournament. But I would rather see Simple for 3 years as a super giga elite heavy carry opper versus Kenny S's less time. It's less time than 3 years.
The question is also like the example can be also like Michael Jordan, right? Everybody thinks he's the GOAT. Do you think they're counting the year in Washington Wizards or
no?
Bullets or
of course not. Of course not.
So no. So they're counting the Bulls only, like the longevity. I think you said it nicely. Longevity of the peak, right?
Yeah,
that's what needs to be counted, not just the number of seasons he played. Like, you can play 4 seasons being the absolute shit, right? That
because
count in your.
Because another simple way to see it is that, like, for Nico, if Nico's only argument over Donk right now is longevity, and he has less MVPs, he has less years as number one, if he's just getting lower placements in many of the tournaments too, while Donk giga carry Spirit 2 tournament victories, then longevity is just being seen as he's taking more time to do less. Like, that's not a compelling argument for me, and a reason why I already have Donk above Nico in a GOAT rifle conversation, or GOAT conversation in general. I have him higher.
It's why, by the way, I made that take on a past hot take that, like, if you're doing the argument of the GOAT player, actually Nico can be the CSGO GOAT. It's not mine, but if you believe in longevity, who the fuck can... Basically, there's like him and Simple have got all the longevity, and Device, they're the three players that have infinite longevity in the game. In fact, by the way, if you count in CS2, Nico has more longevity as an elite player than Simple does. Now, here, the problem is, notice this is why I brought this discussion up, there's never a moment in the peak, though, that I think is better than Simple's peak. So that's why, to me, I don't know why longevity wins out for everyone. I think longevity, to me, is more like, the real question isn't just like, does ultimate longevity win? It's how much do you need? Like this, it's the Moses take. How much longevity do you need before you're allowed to be the GOAT is the real question most people need to answer, I think. And in Moses' case, if he means 2 years, by the way, that's still quite reasonable. It means at the end of this year, Donk can be the GOAT for him. Fair enough. That's not, I don't hate that. That's quite a conservative take, but I don't hate it.
The thing is, yeah, I guess the thing with that is just like, if Donk actually stopped playing for the rest of the year and he didn't play the last 3 months here, I still think HLTV puts him as top 3 minimum. Yeah, minimum. So it's like, if you have 1 year at number 1, 1 year at number 3, then is that not good enough to be in this GOAT conversation? Because if you just stop his career prematurely, it's still such an incredible body of work where the only guy that's going to beat him is probably ZywOo, if on HLTV's list.
2 years is too small of an example. It should be at least 4 or 5 for me. 4 or 5 has to be there, because 2 years would qualify coldzera to be, right? In some scenarios.
So that's why he would be in my discussion. coldzera would be in my discussion for GOAT rifler.
Not even close. For me, like, it needs to be longevity of the peak for it, because 4 or 5 years, maybe even more. What Nico has, what Simple had, what ZywOo has right now, Donk is on the way to do that just a lot better. That's the whole point of my take.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.